3 ways to make your wife fall in love with you again. It is very sad and painful if your wife has fallen out of love with you. She either becomes angry or unhappy all the time with everything you do, or cold and indifferent. The good news is that you can fix this and get her back if you know how. In this video, I'm going to share 3 ways you can influence your wife to fall in love with you again. So let's look at the classic falling in love scheme, which has 3 steps. This is the creation of attraction, plus comfort, plus positive expectations. The man must be interesting and attractive to the woman. He must magnetize and arouse interest, both by how he looks and by his actions. Secondly, he should be nice, comfortable, and pleasant to be with. If he is attractive, but the woman doesn't feel comfortable with him, then falling in love may be out of the question, because his behavior will form negative expectations of the future with him. The other extreme is if he is very comfortable to be with, but is not attractive. In this case, he can become a good friend. You often see this among acquaintances and in movies. When a guy does everything for a girl, and the girl is not ready to accept his signs of affection to date him. And the third important thing is to create an expectation that all will be well in the future. If something in this formula of love isn't right, it'll just be a crush that will go away soon. Most likely, if a woman has lost her feelings for a man, it's either because the man is no longer attractive to her or comfortable for her to be around. For one reason or another, she no longer feels that her husband is interesting. She's not attracted to him. Maybe he behaved in such a way that he pushed her away. The first way to get her love back is to become the man that she fell in love with at the beginning of their relationship. You've already made her fall in love with you once. You once possessed some qualities that attracted her. Often, you can remember and recreate those qualities and behaviors that you had at the beginning of your relationship, things that you aren't doing any longer. For example, a positive and life-loving man turns into an angry workaholic who's never home and pays no attention to his wife. But at the beginning of the relationship, he constantly sent her messages, complimented her, was positive, and often asked her out on dates. And if you realize what is missing, you can restore those traits and behaviors and become interesting to your wife again. There is a chance that she will fall in love with you again. But there are nuances. If she has already fallen out of love with you, she is already disappointed, and the dynamics of falling in love again will be different because she is resentful towards you already. Even if you try to act exactly the same as you did at the beginning of the relationship, it may not work because, in her mind, she has erected an emotional protective wall to block you out. This is the mechanism that helps her avoid being hurt or disappointed again in the relationship with you. It's important to understand what emotions your wife is missing at this moment and give them to her. This is the second way to make her fall in love with you again. To figure out what she is missing, I recommend using the technique of reviewing the 10 most recent conflicts. Its essence is to write out the reasons that sparked the conflicts and your wife's grievances, what she was dissatisfied with. It often happens that 8 or 9 out of 10 reasons are very similar. For example, the woman is not appreciated, or the husband does not pay enough attention to her. However, there is one quite significant reason that is not revealed by this exercise. There are times when a woman constantly complains, and the man does anything to please her, but the situation doesn't change. The reason is that the man has lost his masculine qualities, leadership in the couple, and initiative. Some men often try very hard to do the best for the family, but forget about their own emotional needs. But a woman may want a man who values both himself and her. A queen needs a king, not a servant. If a man has become a servant, the attraction to him diminishes. If you analyze your relationship issues correctly, you can create a new attractive image of yourself so that your wife will want to be with that type of husband again. It is important not only to change, but also to demonstrate the new you correctly. Then it will be easier for your wife to fall in love with you again. I recommend the use of indirect influence to make your wife believe that you've really changed. This is described in detail in the book, Get Your Wife Back by Sergio Ariz and Gary Ideal. You can find it by following the link in the video description or in the comments section. The point of the indirect influence method is to demonstrate your change through social media, her environment, and special stories, the templates for which can also be found in the book. For example, you can say many times that you will change, but your wife will no longer believe it. What's better, you can change and show it to her on social media and in your interactions with other people. If the husband was very negative, he can say that he will definitely deal with the stress and become more positive. Or he can work with a therapist or a coach, start to implement their recommendations, and get new hobbies that will show the wife that he is becoming happier. Such changes will be easier for her to believe than just words. But this method has a number of disadvantages. If you just show change but don't change in reality, chances are that after a while, your wife will be disappointed again and become even more resentful. In most cases, there are some underlying reasons why husbands behave in ways that make their wives fall out of love with them. Many men say they need to find some tool to change a woman's feelings, and that's that. They are not ready to change yet, or they will change when they get her back. To which I say, yes, you can write something that will revive her feelings and she'll come back. But beyond that, it is important to prepare for your relationship to be happy. The man answers, I'll get her back and everything will be fine. But in fact, that is not the case. For example, I had a case of a man who had been drinking and started talking negatively about his girlfriend to her face. She left. I told him that he had to try to figure out what's hurting him, why he's acting that way with her, and only after that try to get her back. He contacted me and asked that I help him write a good letter to her. I warned him that it was important to work on what was bothering him deep down, because there was a great chance of repeating the situation, and that she would leave again if he didn't deal with his own feelings. He told me that he understood that and it would be okay. He could control himself. We ended up writing a letter. He got her back, and then I got a message from him that it happened again. He got drunk again and started getting aggressive towards her, and she left again. And he texts me saying, "She's gone. Help me. We have to get her back again." I said, I warned you to deal with the underlying issues that are causing problems in your relationship. Unfortunately, many men sometimes find it hard to admit that they need to work on themselves and change. The third way to make her fall in love all over again is to understand your underlying problems, analyze them, and transform yourself. To do this, it is best to work with a therapist or a coach who will help you figure out what's causing the problems in your relationship, or at least introduce you to books or courses that can help you remove some of the issues. Only after that do you need to broadcast the changes that have occurred in you and create an attractive image. Then, if you get your beloved back, she will be with you long term, and your relationship will be longer and happier. Not just that you got your wife back and 2 weeks later you're back to where you were before, and she's disappointed and distant again. Remember, the more disappointments, the more difficult it is to get her feelings back and your relationship to work. That's why I highly recommend that you prepare yourself before you get your wife and her love back. Don't just manipulate her by putting on a pretty front, but do your part to improve yourself and the relationship. Women can walk away from both the rich and the poor, from the selfish and from those who serve them, because relationships are a balancing act. If you go to one extreme and tell yourself a story, like that money solves everything, you can make a lot of money, but you won't have time for your wife, for intimacy. In such cases, the wife will feel alienated and be dissatisfied, and then she will leave. So it is important to respond to challenges, to improve yourself, to show change in the right way, and to get closer to your wife. So here is a brief summary that takes into account all 3 of the ways to regain your wife's love that I have described so far. The first is to become attractive again. To do this, you have to figure out where it's gone and recreate the attractive traits that were there before. The second is to remove the emotional protective wall that your wife has built up in her head that prevents her from falling in love with you again, so that she doesn't get burned in the relationship again. To do this, I recommend using the method of indirect influence. It's very important to show that you have changed, not to yell, "Honey, I've changed," but to actually show evidence of your change. Third, when communication with your wife warms up, it's important to spend quality time together. Go out on exciting dates and get close to her emotionally and physically. When you get her back, you shouldn't relax. You need to keep working on yourself to build a happier relationship that will only grow stronger. After the relationship has improved to the point of being all good, it is advisable to continue to improve it, to create a habit to be more interesting to your wife. For example, have an exciting date with your wife at least once a month, or better yet, once every 2 weeks, so that you both feel good together and are interested in each other. So your wife falls in love with you more and feels happy with you and you with her. If you want a detailed plan on how to get your wife's love back, you can find it in the book, Get Your Wife Back, by following the link below this video or in the comments. It has step-by-step instructions for exactly what to do, write, and say to get your wife and her love back. If you have any questions, please share them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them as soon as possible. Like and subscribe to our channel, and you'll get more relevant content soon. Good luck at getting her love back.